All right, well, welcome to the Dooryard Union. It's a great show where we talk to badass Southern Albertan entrepreneurs. This is my partner Colin Harms, co-host, and this is the guy that we're interviewing, Obed Maurice from Avail Accounting, a tech entrepreneur, an accountant by trade, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't love it when people call me an accountant. We're working on our definition, but
okay.
I am a chartered accountant. But
yeah, you don't sound like an accountant.
I like to do other things too.
I don't really want to be a realtor either, for what it's worth. But that's my formal title. So, well, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, we've been hanging out, the three of us, for like the last half hour, just getting ready, having a really good jam. So we're gonna bring you up to speed on some of the cool stuff that Obed's up to. Mm-hmm. But maybe give us the backstory, man. So you're from here. Yep. You said born and raised. So walk us through like young Obed's journey, man, through coming up in Lethbridge, and how you learned a little bit more about the path that you're on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, born and raised in Lethbridge. I mean, we were talking about how I bought my first bike at Burton Max, which is a place that was close to a place that you're renovating right now. Kind of always had a little bit of an entrepreneur bug. I shoveled my neighbors' walks, I mowed lawns, I had a paper route, and back then, kids had paper routes and that kind of thing. And
was that forced on you? Were you like, get out there, man, or were you just like, I want to make some money?
No, I want to make some money, and the truth is, like, when I was really young, my mom, was encouraging me to read books like The Magic of Thinking Big, and kind of had instilled, I think, just some type of self-sustaining thoughts with me, that like she didn't really want me to be an entrepreneur, but I had a lot of positive influences on that front, right? So kind of just organically just got out there and started to make a couple bucks on the side, shoveling walks, and I discovered you could make a lot of money when it snowed. For a little kid, a 10-year-old kid, $100 or so is a big deal. All the baseball cards you could get.
And you've got so much energy at that age, the shoveling is really not a big deal, and you already want to be outside. So.
Yeah. So I mean, fast forward a little bit, I felt like I'm always kind of comfortable doing my own thing and kind of doing stuff for myself. I went to school here, went to university here. I actually articled in Calgary to become a chartered accountant, and then was pulled back. I met the woman of my dreams, and she was here. So easy decision for me.
In Lethbridge.
Yeah, in Lethbridge.
Wow, man.
So
you got a lot of connects here.
I do. Yeah. So I got pulled back and kind of started my career as a chartered accountant, really. Yeah. And I realized pretty early that wasn't going to work for me. I definitely like financial literacy, but the traditional approach was something that didn't really fit with my I guess psyche or my upbringing, right? A bit more entrepreneurial type vibe to myself. So I started to discover new ways to kind of help people and use my training to not only help myself but hopefully help other people make good decisions.
So I want to take a step back because I'm always interested in hearing how people kind of like navigate forks in their road. So you had a bunch of these forks in the road, and I don't think traditionally like young people who are entrepreneurial and kind of like independent necessarily look at accounting as being like a way to fulfill that kind of that burning desire, at least not in my perception. Yeah. So can you tell me a bit about how you made the decision to pursue accounting when you had this other vibe on the go? It seems to me that maybe that was a little bit different than what you portrayed, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the truth is, like, it was a bit of an accident. I was in university wrapping up my degree. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like most kids at the U of L, a lot of us take management degrees because we think that it's going to be safe and that we're going to get a job. So that's kind of what I was doing, and I truly didn't know what I was going to do. And someone suggested, hey, consider being a chartered accountant. So I don't really have any other plans right now. Let's just do it. And I did it and kept passing the exams, and things worked out, and I got my designation. But the truth is, I still always had that other side to me, right? Mm-hmm. And I think just getting a little bit more into the professional world, I realized that that's actually a huge asset. Having that not necessarily risk appetite, but the willingness to try new things and to be creative and to like design different business models or whatever it is, that coupling those or interdisciplinary is can be a win.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how much access accountants have to different types of business models, and and seeing different businesses really succeed or businesses fail. I mean, you get to see the behind the scenes stuff that nobody else does, right?
Absolutely. I mean, my passion isn't doing tax returns. Like, I'm not, when people think of an accountant, they think I'm in the back room with a big calculator, like crunching numbers. That's really not what we do at all. A lot of us, it's working directly with entrepreneurs, doing strategy, talking about pricing, talking about marketing, talking about business models, HR, all the other stuff. So I think profession's kind of expanding, and that's why we kind of laughed when I said, don't call me an accountant, because some of that perception is you're just kind of in the back room crunching numbers, and more to what you said, Courtney, that it's the opportunity to see and hang out with entrepreneurs like you guys. Like, that's my jam, right? That's the stuff I love.
So walk Colin and I through how you landed at Avail, how you came back to Lethbridge, what that journey looked like. I'm always curious in the little details. You're applying for jobs. The only interview you got was at Avail. Like, be honest with us. Tell us how that all went.
No, you know what happened?
That's how I landed in Lethbridge. For what it's worth.
No, I was up in Calgary, like I said, articling for a larger firm. Didn't really like the big city, like an hour commute in and out. Met the woman of my dreams. Said, hey, I want to come back home. So I did, and landed in a firm. Didn't really love the traditional practice, and at the time, I wasn't kind of strong enough yet to kind of go out on my own. So got a job for a pretty high net worth guy here in Lethbridge who taught me a lot about entrepreneurship. I mean, this guy's got private jets, businesses. Like, he really showed me a lot about like just growing wealth and what entrepreneurialism was. So that was an awesome opportunity for me. And kind of taking some of those learnings, I said, hey, like, I want to start my own business. And for me, that business was an accounting practice. So I've always approached it that way, having had that learning, moved back, and quickly realized, like, the value of what I was doing needed to be higher than what a traditional accounting practice might be, where people drop their stuff off and 6 months later you phone them, and that wasn't really the value I wanted to bring to the market. I also wanted to be in California a little more often, so I really spent a lot of time thinking about what my value proposition was, and I designed like one of Canada's first fully virtual professional accounting firms, and we got some funding from Alberta Innovates and the National Research Council. Thought it was a pretty cool idea. So a couple fairly larger like governments said, yeah, this is like virtual accounting. What is that? Professional services in the cloud. Sounds cool. Let's do this. So we built it. Ended up selling it, and became a partner at Avail, and now we're doing a lot of the stuff that kind of initially did years ago, bringing that, like, trying to scale it, right, for like the masses. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And through that journey of kind of being acquired, I was able to start up another software company that we're building today that's specifically financial technology to help people make better decisions. And again, just kind of loving the entrepreneurial side of things, always thinking about the value that we're bringing to the market, not just processing forms and that kind of thing.
Right. We talked about that just before the show started. We were trying to put you in a box, right? And you're resisting that.
I am resisting it.
Man, you're doing a great job of it. I love that, dude. I don't want to be in a box either. So share with us a bit more about the kind of the journey that you're on right now, the company that you're building out, the software that you're building, the integration with the work that you're doing as an advisor, and talk to us about like how those are kind of converging and sounds like also kind of maybe on even parallel but dissimilar paths maybe.
Yeah, I think I'd like to think of them as parallel. I mean, first of all, thanks for recognizing I don't want to be in a box. I mean, it's really important that we have the freedom to be creative and kind of design, the lifestyles and the businesses that we want. I think that's a big part of being an entrepreneur, is that willingness to design and just like not be boxed in by, other people's thinking. So definitely something I work on. But with the technology, I mean, in today's day and age, we have so much data in an accounting firm. I mean, we literally have data streaming in, people's business information, banking information, tax information, HR, marketing, etc. So But the technology, now that you alluded to earlier, we have access to a ton of information. Now what are we doing as accountants to kind of help people change their behaviors and be more aware of the things that are relevant to them? So instead of reporting on things that happened 6 months ago, we now have the technology where we can assist in proactive decision making and really amplify what I think is like the personalization. Taking someone like me who's fairly financially literate and pairing me with an entrepreneur who might not have that, and bringing us together in the cloud in real time to think more about proactive decision making rather than just financial reporting. And I do think there is a convergence, and my big push is like future focused, like let's build wealth, let's make good financial decisions. I don't really want to tell you guys what you should have done 6 months ago. I want to be talking about where we're going and what are the roadblocks or opportunities that are in front of us, and our technology will help with some of that for sure.
I have some questions about how those integrations work, but it seems to me like you might be talking about like a daily P&L almost, like you're looking for like metrics to hit. I presume it's through an API setup between like a database that sits on your client side, and then you guys have it, and then ding ding ding, some metric gets hit for the better or for the worse. It triggers a conversation or some action perhaps. Tell us more about how that works.
No, you're exactly right. So all of those things for sure. Our technology will lay over top of database or a series of databases, and one that we're building ourselves. But at the end of the day, what I'm learning about people is like relevance really matters to people. So we do have the power to provide real-time notifications, but what I've learned is that everyone has a different way of, understanding financial information. So some people might want to text once a month, other people might want to text daily, some people might want notifications about different topics, and I think it's really drilling like the personalized, relevant things that will help make business owners like yourself make good decisions. And it might be different for each of you, right? So really kind of hammering the relevant side of things, and that's where our technology is trying to help accountants understand that and not leverage it, but deliver on that basis of relevance. Because normally it's like, here's your financial statement, see you later. It's like, what's important? And it's going to be different for each one of you guys, right? So that's the part that we're trying to work on right now.
You must have gotten a lot of feedback about that, because that's been a frustration of mine, not since I've been working with Avail, by the way, but that's been a frustration of mine in that, the value added piece did come kind of too late, and I never really felt like somebody knew my business like I did, nor should they, but when you've got a big enough business, at some point you're going to look at your accountant like a partner, right? Yeah. You're going to look at them to be like the brains in the area, that you don't have that expertise to be that partner that isn't necessarily technically your partner, but to say, hey, like, Courtney, this is a terrible decision, or you've really been like screwing this thing up consistently now for 2 years. Yeah. But wouldn't it be better to have that conversation after a month, right? Or after a queue passes, once you've missed your targets or whatever. We all know these best practices to be. We've outlined them. If you're not having those conversations early enough on, April 1st is just the beginning of when the books get submitted, and then you don't have the conversation until August, and then then you've forgotten all about the daily activities that got you there in the first place, and now you're onto the old habits that got you there, and your next April's set up the same way, right?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
If I read it right, is because as you're saying or alluding to, is the ability to shift on the fly is where you make money. Right? If we're always dealing in past tense, right, it's gone, right? Like you alluded to the daily P&L, right? Is that where you're at? Is basically you have your finger on the pulse of the business, right? Yeah. My metrics are different than Courtney's metrics. Your metrics are different in your business.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But shifting on the fly as you go is what alleviates those problems in the future, right? Like, hey, let's stop this today, and this is why.
Yeah, absolutely. And really spending the time to understand like what that is for you, and there's a lot of data. So even me as an accountant, I need my own suite of technology to help me filter through the data and wrap certain metrics around your preferences. And like both of you guys are pretty sophisticated entrepreneurs, right? So there's a lot of data coming at me as an accountant that I need the right tools to filter through, you know. So it's like assisted accounting, robo-advising from my perspective,
Right.
so that I can serve up the right insights and stuff to some pretty sophisticated dudes like yourself. I mean, we just need those tools. Like the value proposition has changed today. We expect real time in anything we consume, whether it's social media or Amazon orders. Like we don't expect delayed responses. I mean, that's just the way the world works right now.
Right.
So I mean, we would be ill-advised as a profession to not kind of accept that reality and then try and, you know, deliver on the same way that you guys generally experience the world that way, whether it's your Netflix recommendations, your news feeds on social. I would think that you guys are starting to expect that same thing from your professional relationships, and hopefully we can help with that.
Well, we feel that kind of resistance when the world's not keeping up to us, and you know we're all in the service business, right? You know, we had a conversation around the training table the other day at my office about, you know, a young client who we know who's like literally calls us in the afternoon to go see a property like in 30 minutes. No consideration for who lives there, no consideration for the fact that we might have busy schedules that we might already booked, and you know what? It doesn't matter.
Interesting.
Like, they don't care, and we shouldn't try to implore them to care. That's just like, we're in an instant world, like, and if we don't do the work, somebody else will. So find a way. Like, just make it happen.
Video walkthroughs, you know, whatever it is. It's like, you want on demand? No problem. Here's a YouTube video.
I can sit back and be a dinosaur and worry about like how it's inconvenient, or I can modify our business to accommodate a changing environment. And you guys are doing that. So I'm curious now. I mean, maybe this is diving a bit too deep, but I'm super interested in tech and how it works and how you model it. So like you got so many clients that you're advising, and every business has best practices, and every variation of those businesses has best practices. And then, you know, I mean, I'm thinking of farmers, like, so you're playing in the options market, and now you're dealing with, like, you know, so many different variables, that weather, right? Like, so that's big data, man.
It really is.
And so how do you know, like, depending on the clientele that you're dealing with, how do you know what data inputs and outputs are your like your top 10 or 20 or 100 or whatever they are, and then with a client who maybe is unsophisticated but looks to you to be that like real ninja skilled service provider, what's your network like? Where do you go to determine what metrics are like really, really important, so you can like provide high level value to this person who's like, here man, solve my problem? Like, who do you go to?
Totally. I mean, for us, it's really the entrepreneur. That's what I feel like. No one's going to know their business better than you guys, right? I mean, you guys study this, you live and breathe it. Occasionally you fight with your wives about it. I mean, you live it, right? This is what you guys do.
We do.
So, I mean...
Were you at the house last night? Or this morning?
But, you know, that's like, in all seriousness, we live and breathe it, man. That's what entrepreneurs do. And
so it's not unique to us, is what you're saying, man. Like, it's on lock. Okay, cool.
Well, I mean,
good right now.
It starts with this. It starts with discovery and ongoing discovery, and that's what I mean about. I need to know what's in your guys' head. You know, what's relevant. What are the different indicators that drive your business? And sometimes I can add my 2 cents from just studying like weather patterns and commodities markets and other kind of things. But a lot of it I learned from just the entrepreneur themselves, and then having the tech background, knowing what we can and can't get. I mean, the aspiration is that we have like big data, as you say, but we'll take a little bit of financial data right now and coupling that with the entrepreneur's experience of like, usually he or she will tell us, here's what's relevant, here's how I make my decisions, and we can poke some holes in that, like, you know, what about price sensitivity, what about commodities markets, what about, you know, credit risk and some other kind of financial stuff that I might bring to the table. But really it's the convergence of the entrepreneur and the advisor. I mean, I'll never know your business as well as you do, and that's, you know, bringing us together is where that power comes from, I think.
And then is the vision then to have, you know, these metrics set up and, you know, your feed set up, I presume through API or whatever, and then they just trigger communication. You mentioned email or text, or, you know, a notification to make a phone call or something like that, and then that just facilitates a conversation. Or what do you see the action being when these things happen?
So right now, like what we have built is just notifications based on your preference. So that is, you know, text, like SMS, email, could be personalized phone call, depending on what we decide is your preference. But the vision is for sure like AI-driven, autonomous financial decision-making, where we would factor in like as many pieces of data as humanly possible, that we would serve those up proactively based on who you are. And like the truth is, like machines can probably make better financial decisions than humans can, and there's more data that they can process. And the ideal world that I envision is that someone like you would just be served up insights automatically and probably have those insights acted upon with like almost little effort. So there might be automatic credit checks, there might be automatic like loan applications that might do a comparative and take your information, just serve up what the best interest is. So you don't need me for that. The AI can just do that. The data is already available. Or you might be served up a specific action that has already been analyzed, and we can just personalize that. Like that's the reality is that's my vision. Like that's
cool.
The world that I want to create.
And you picture like some of that data coming from third-party aggregators.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
And it can come from social media. It can come from your banking information. It can come from third-party like insurance providers, like all of the things that we're already engaged in. They're just not consolidated and reviewed with like that level of analytics that already exists. So that's the world that I'm hoping to create.
I mean, you and I know people that are in their 50s and 60s. They're like extremely sophisticated entrepreneurs that are like plugged into like 5 computer screens, multiple operating systems, multiple phones, like trading, running businesses, owning real estate, like all kinds of crazy things. And they've all accepted the fact that technology serves them in a way that the human brain and sometimes people can't. So I think it's brilliant that you've got a model that can help leverage those types of people. I mean, and frankly, like I think it's cool because by virtue of doing that, you're fulfilling some of your own needs, like you've described, which is to be around real badass, forward-thinking people, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to get a phone call from somebody who's like, "Hey, Obed, I want to send you like my paper clips from 2 years ago." You'd be like, "Yeah, I got somebody that can help you with that."
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah.
Right. I don't get any jam from that, right?
I don't, and I love that you can say badass, because those are the people that I love working with, right? I mean, I love entrepreneurs. I love people that are willing to challenge the status quo and to raise themselves to that higher level. And there will be a bit of a badass element to it, right? Where they're willing to kind of do their own thing, and not that they're reckless, but sometimes they can be. But I mean, they're definitely willing to kind of put themselves out there, right, and be outside of the norm. And those are the folks that I want to hang out with. And I mean,
they're trying to scale out of effort, right? They want to alleviate some pain in their life from time, or they're trying to scale up their business and do more with the 200 hours a week that they're working or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I think when you touched on AI, I think a lot of fear in the marketplace is, these are going to take away jobs. This is what's going to happen. In my opinion, and you correct me or tell me what you think, is the artificial intelligence, it's not going to take away jobs. It's going to change the way jobs are done. Right? We talked about before we came on, how much time are you going to spend away? Courtney wants to spend, a couple weeks every quarter, right? We're not going to be able to do that if we don't embrace the change. Whether it's augmented reality, I've been studying that a little bit. Phenomenal, right? It's unreal how you can do things like, say you're dealing with a P&L, right? And you say, "Hey, Colin, just check it out." Pull your phone up, and boom, there it is. Right? I don't need to meet with you Wednesday at 2:00.
No.
So we can figure out my problem then. Let's figure it out now. So Wednesday at 2:00, I can be going on my 2-week hiatus or whatever it's going to be, right? And when I'm there, I'm gone from this physical place, but I'm not gone, right? I'm still connected, but it may be 20 minutes in the morning that I need to deal with it. I don't need to come back and meet with you, and you don't need to meet with me. That doesn't undervalue what you're doing or what you're providing for me. I think it adds value to it, right? And I think how do we bring that to the marketplace and make them embrace it? Like, how do you do that when you meet with a client? Like, how would you bring that out to a client? If I'm your client, what would you do or say to me that would make me believe in that?
I love everything you're saying there. I agree. So usually it starts with discovery, and what I want to know is like, why do people start businesses? Like, what are their aspirations exactly? like in detail, right? Is it to work 75 hours a week and go through some horrendous divorce and miss all your kids' soccer game? Or is there some kind of aspiration that we need to talk about, right? And for most entrepreneurs, they have a burning desire to accomplish some type of lifestyle, some type of advancement in the market, some type of value proposition. You know, maybe they're trying to, you know, how do you bring this kind of radical thinking to market? And for me, it kind of starts by like a bit of a deep study of like what actually matters to people, right? And in my case, it's entrepreneurs and people that are trying to like aspire to get some shit done, right? And for a lot of them, it's lifestyle. You know, it's like, hey, I want a bit more time off, or I want freedom, or some more money than I was getting paid at my 9 to 5, but what I'm looking to discover is like what exactly is that for you? And in most cases, it's that lifestyle. And I think that's what that's what technology has done for us, is like increased our quality of life by like an order of magnitude, right? Then like we can spend time in California for months on end. We can travel around the globe. We can take our young family to the Dominican Republic, you know, in the middle of winter. Like these are pretty cool things that we're able to do for ourselves. So a big part of what I'm trying to do is kind of empower and help entrepreneurs get a little bit closer to that. And on the virtual front, aside from making good financial decisions, which is going to be required to run a successful business, there's also like the technology element of like physically being able to leave your location and automate a lot of practices that entrepreneurs spend a ton of time doing stuff in their business that normal employees, like they don't have to fix the printer, they don't have to hire and fire people, they don't have to run a marketing department, they don't have to meet with the accountants and lawyers, they don't have to do sales and troubleshoot a computer. Entrepreneurship is extremely demanding, and I think technology can help with that. Like in addition to, you know, accomplishing the financial outcomes, just simplifying and automating a lot of the business practices. So tying that to the value proposition, when you asked how do you bring that to market, it's like understanding how that might fit with what an entrepreneur is seeking, right? And it's different. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's automation, sometimes it's somewhere in the middle. But
don't you find it frustrating that you have like this technology, you have this vision, but then you'll get like a phone call from somebody that won't leave you a voice message, and they'll call like 6 times, and then they won't tell you what they're calling about, and then they'll ask you for a meeting, and then they won't give you an agenda?
Yeah, I do. I mean, so that used to happen to me all the time. And then what I started working on was like a filtering process before I would, like for me it was a sales funnel.
You got to qualify.
Yeah, right? So it's like I would spend so much time in meetings where people just thought I was an idiot, and that's fair to some people. A lot of people I am an idiot, but to other people they think, yeah, that makes sense. So you need to set those filters right. And for me, it was an explainer video, and you know, a few other filtering, like literal filtering, either pieces of content or mechanisms, so that when I met with people, I knew, like at least philosophically, we were aligned, and that it was going to be worth both of our times, and that saved me a ton of frustration. But I totally get what you're saying, Courtney. When people, when we don't run things through that filter, we end up wasting a lot of time, and everyone's time, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm not trying to be an a-hole. I'm just like, there's some stuff I'm trying to accomplish in the world, and it's not going to work.
Well, you've got a vision for some really cool technology for what you're trying to accomplish in your practice, and you've got a lifestyle that you're trying to build. And Colin and I are desperate to talk to you more about that, and that you're well on your way to doing and have already executed on it. I think that's brilliant. And so the cool thing about that is that in order for you to accomplish your personal goal, you have to have clients who are aligned in that vision, right? You know, if you need a client that needs to meet you every Wednesday for a chit chat that takes an hour and accomplishes nothing, that client's going to fire you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They just will. And so it's prudent for you to identify both personally that that's not a good fit. It's a better service for them to know up front that that's not a good fit, and to have somebody at your firm that wants to do that, who that is aligned with their personal values. And that's
right.
I presume one of the beautiful things about being at a large firm like you're at, where you have a diverse group of people serving client needs. Is that, have I kind of assessed that appropriately?
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed with your assessment. It's not something a lot of people pick up on, but for sure there needs to be alignment. Like I know, like I'm pretty awesome at my work when I love the people I'm working with. I love the work that I'm doing, and it kind of connects with what, say, you and I are trying to achieve together. I think that I'm pretty awesome at that work. I suck pretty bad when it's work that I hate doing and it doesn't align with like my personal philosophy. Like if you ask me to like sort a huge mountain of paper and figure out what you should have done 6 months ago, I'm going to be terrible at it. You're going to fire me, and I'm just going to hate life, right? But if you ask me to say, hey man, can you help me grow this business? And like, I've got a few ideas on how I could grow this business. Do you think you could help with some of your financial stuff? I'm in, man. Like, let's do this thing, and you're going to see spectacular results. And it's really hard at the outset to kind of say no to people that might pay your bills.
Yeah.
Say no to people that are going to buy services, and at some point we need to cross a chasm where like we're driving and we're kind of, our business is more aligned with our personal goals than it has been in the past. And I think that's the number one spot where I see entrepreneurs start to kind of unravel, is when that disconnect happens, and it's like, well, now I'm just working too much, and my wife's mad at me, I'm missing my kid's soccer game, I'm all stressed out. That stuff's gonna happen, but if you start to uncouple that from the original goal, it's like life gets messy, man, and your business starts to suffer. And I really challenge people, like, let's get back. It's the knowledge era. This isn't the era of breaking rocks and like making money from like physical output. It's from design, tech relationships, that other kind of stuff. So I think that your recognition is really brilliant, that having people and clients and that kind of stuff in our lives that are closer aligned with our personal goals really does create some special results.
Ray Dalio wrote a book called
I love
Principles.
Ray Dalio. Yeah.
You gotta be on
Principles, right? Yeah. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
But it speaks exactly to that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's where we focus on, we give power to.
Right.
Right. But with those clients, whatever it may be, like you were speaking to, right, is are we gonna spend the time, not waste the time, but are we gonna invest our time into that which isn't profitable?
Right.
Right? Because we all have the same 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're...
Yeah.
I'm just so thankful that you're really open about it. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and I'm looking back saying, gosh, you know what, I really should have deferred this to one of my partners. It was a relationship that I probably could have identified early on that I wasn't going to be able to serve, and they're not feeling the love, and I'm not feeling the love, and now things aren't shattered, but they could have been better served had I just at the outset had a more abundant mindset about that. And so I wanted to talk to you a bit about that. I mean, you have to feel a certain way in your skin to be able to say no to a potential client that could have a long-standing relationship and good yearly billing, and recognizing that the energy that you're not losing to a relationship that you don't find fulfilling could be invested in orders of magnitude over here, whether it be with your family, your personal health, your time off, or with other clients that are better aligned with you. So how have you come to that place? Like, that's an arrival, in my opinion, and so I want to hear about your journey to that place where you're okay with that, or you got to be okay with that.
Yeah. Again, I mean, great recognition. I mean, clearly I'm speaking to an entrepreneur, because you get that. We're talking the same language. And for me, it has been an ebb and a flow in the past. I mean, where I would arrive at that place, and then maybe like I said, entrepreneurs kind of get pulled away from that, and then I got to kind of come back to it. So for me, it's hanging out with other entrepreneurs like you guys, talking about that, reading books. You mentioned Ray Dalio, one of my favorites. So influences, like pretty awesome influences like Ray Dalio and others. Removing myself, like managing my environment is a really big deal for me. Like, I'm a huge meditator, but I'm also hugely aware of my environment and kind of how I make decisions, what my influences are, what habits I'm starting to form. So for me, recently, going to California for a few months was a really big deal, so that I could kind of get back to that place of abundant mind thinking, as you said, and that real commitment to lifestyle and what we're trying to build. But I think for most entrepreneurs, it ebbs and flows. Like you're in that vibe for 6 months, and then you kind of somehow lose that for a few months, and hopefully we get to hang around with cool dudes like you guys that kind of bring us back to that sooner rather than later. And that environment is really powerful for a guy like you to come to me and say, hey Obed, I noticed lately your vibe's been a bit off. how closely aligned are you with your goals? Let's talk about that, and let's get back to that. I mean, that's how it's going to happen, man, is guys working together.
Don't you wish more people would be like that? I have such a cool story about this, and it was right before my holiday. So, like, Colin wouldn't tell you this, but I was kind of an asshole before I went to this meeting. I was a brutal jerk, man, to my family, to my kids,
it does happen.
To my team, and I knew that I had this holiday coming up, and I knew that I'd waited like 4 months too long to take this holiday.
Totally.
But I had to power through some stuff, right? And so you just made me think when you're like, yeah, man, you got to like power through some things, but it has an effect. The effect was that I wasn't myself. I wasn't getting to the gym. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't in my vibe, right? And so I'm in this meeting, right? It's some night. I've blown past my commitment to not work past a certain time. I'm like well past that now.
Totally.
At the table at my office with this family, they're super nice people, and he looks at me about 2 hours in. Like, my meetings are usually like super like succinct and well formed, and I've kind of like let this one get off the rails. We're like maybe 2.5 hours in, and he looks at me and he says, "Courtney, I feel like your energy's really dropped off in this meeting. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And it just hit me like a brick upside the face. I was like, man, like, this guy is so cool for saying that, right?
Totally.
Like we don't have a lot of permission in our society yet, I think, to have conversations like this. And I love that you're cool with that, and I love that this guy was cool with it. But I was also like, wow, man, like, people see this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this guy's noticing, like, I'm mailing it in right now.
Yeah.
I'm working past my bedtime, right?
Yeah.
And I'm working past a vacation that I should have taken 2 or 3 months ago, and a guy's noticing it. Now, yeah, we listed the property, we sold the property, all the good things happen, but people get that, man, and you meet people around you that are comfortable talking that way, right?
Yeah. Well, but I want to point out, though, that you heard that message.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't hear that message, and that's what Colin and I were talking about, is how do different people end up in different places. And I think a credit to yourself that being like open to hearing that message and kind of thinking to yourself, like, there's some truth in that, and I need to do something different. A lot of people don't have that. Right? So I mean, your ability to change and adapt is like a pretty awesome win for yourself. So it does. Yeah. There's a certain element of yourself and your ability to receive that.
Well, I mean, how many times have we all gone home, right, at the end of the day, and something falls apart at the dinner table with the kids, and
it happens.
And your wife is the first person they call you, or your husband if you're a female entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you gotta love a loving partner just to call you on your shit like 5 seconds in. Right? And
the trick is to hear that, right?
Yeah.
Hear that it's coming.
Well, first the dukes come up sometimes, right? And you're like, "No, I got this. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a badass." Like, I don't think you know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Wait a minute. Yeah, you're right. Like, you know me best."
Yeah, I've even had it where my wife has said, "I'm not your client."
You guys have read the book?
You don't have to talk to me like that.
Have you guys read the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution? Yes. I talk about it like every freaking day. But anyways, my wife says to me one day, she's like, "Don't 4DX." I was like, damn, like, man, this girl is on lock.
Yeah. And it's those people in our life, right? Like our spouses, whether they're men or women or whatever your spouse is like the people in your life that love you and that are willing to have those conversations. But it's our job to listen as entrepreneurs and say, you know what? You're right. Like, this feedback, as difficult as it is to hear, is something I need to hear and act on. Right? Yeah. I've never regretted taking a long weekend. I've never regretted like going on a trip with my family and my wife. I love her. She's the love of my life. I'm so lucky to have her. But she's a big part of that, right? To say, hey, like, we need more time off. This is ridiculous. So for what it's worth.
Well, I think even. Whoever you do business with or whoever you hang out with, it's the same thing. It's almost like
totally
like a prescription, or Courtney's going to sit down with me and say, hey, like he's like my doctor, right? Yeah, I've got bad news. Oh, what's that? You're just not on.
You're being an asshole.
But it's true, right? And I think that needs to happen, and we don't even allow it to happen.
Right.
Or if we do, backs against the wall, and what's your problem, right? But if your doctor says to you, hey, you need to make these changes like right now. Or this is how much time you have.
It's tough creating space to have safe conversations, and it's tough to be able to it's tough to be the kind of person that people perceive your words in that way too, right? You obviously conduct yourself in a way where if you were to use those words or choose those words, people are going to hear them the way that you mean to be said, or you same way, right? I mean, you don't go around with a hammer every time you're talking to people. I mean, you're a certain way, so those words come out a certain way. But that, if you're not that way now, it takes a long time to be perceived that way, to learn that skill, and then also to exercise those muscles as well, to hear that feedback. And then, but you're right. I mean, how hard is it going through life feeling like you got all the answers and like everybody else is just wrong?
Yeah.
And I don't need an accountant. Like, you're just overpaid. Like, why would I ask you any questions?
Yeah.
Screw you and your database or whatever.
Yeah. Totally.
These are my numbers.
Yeah, right.
Don't you tell me what.
You're like, listen, man, I'm on a beach. Okay, I'm good.
I created these numbers, and you're like, that's the problem. So I'm trying to tell you.
I love that.
So let's talk about lifestyle creation, man. Because I mean, you're a busy guy. You're a dad. You're a husband.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur.
Totally.
You've got partners that you're accountable to.
Yeah, big time.
And so, but still, you say you took 2 months out of the country. You spent time in California. You worked from there. You represented your client's interests as well. You got recharged. You plugged in with your family. Like, dude, that is mecca for entrepreneurship. So give everybody that's watching today's show a lesson on how you constructed that.
Yeah, wow, that's a big question.
Sure it is, man.
I mean, the Cole's notes are, I mean, a big part of what you said earlier was like, it's design, right? It's intentional design. I mean, people looking like, wow, that's crazy, overnight success. I mean, that started some years ago by saying no to a lot. Like, I sat at tables where guys were offering fairly substantial sized deals, but it didn't fit with what we were trying to accomplish, right? And so having that willingness to kind of go that road of like, I need clients that know what the internet is. Like, I need clients that can, at least at least have a video call, or if they can't have a video call, accept that what I'm doing is worthwhile.
Do you use Zoom or Ring Central?
Yeah, Zoom for sure. Yeah, Google Hangouts. I mean, Slack, Microsoft Teams. Like, we're all depending on what the scenario is. But a lot of my clients buy in because we're very like all entrepreneurs want that same thing. So they're like, yeah, you want that, I want that, we're going to build this together, and hopefully I can be a bit of a model as well. But creating that from the outset, so a lot of the decisions were around that aspiration of not only because it's not about me, like, yeah, I want to be in California for sure, but I want to do awesome stuff for my clients as well. And that's going to involve understanding business automation, understanding like the value propositions that happen or that are important to them. So focusing more on CFO, real-time alerts, that kind of thing. But it was really that commitment, saying no to a lot of stuff, the right strategic partners, sales filters like we talked about. So eventually you kind of build this up, and you're like, well, yeah, like we're here. Like, all of our clients are virtual, and we had to say no to a lot of things and find the right strategic partners and people that would really agree or like latch on and promote what we were doing. And like Alberta and federal government, I won a number of recognition, like awards and stuff for the work that we were doing. And a lot of people agreed that like this industry needed change, and that I could be a champion for that progress, right? So latching on to that, and just kind of taking the feedback, like, let's keep doing this. And here we are today. My partners at Avail CPA totally buy in and stuff, and spending those couple months down there was a real like a realization of a goal. And what I learned was, that was powerful. Realizing that goal was powerful, but it definitely made me like a better human being, like way better at that balance and kind of aligning myself with like-minded people and getting back to that centered spot. So, I mean, it was a journey for sure, but I mean, I had to be willing to take a risk. A lot of people, and even still, think that I'm an idiot, and that's fine. But I mean, you have to be okay with some uncertainty, right? You have to be okay with like people saying no. And for me, that's like meditation. Finding people that are supportive, eating right. Having like some risk tolerance to failure. These are all things entrepreneurs do anyway. But for me, it's like, just managing those emotions, and you have to have a little bit of a thick skin, but that's okay. I mean, now that we're here, I mean, the goal's been achieved, and I want to do it more. And I think every entrepreneur faces that, right? Like that doubt, and being willing to, fight through that doubt and stuff. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I was reading some meme or something on Facebook last night mindlessly, which I'm trying to get away from, but I'll just cop to it. I saw it on Facebook. I'd love to tell you that it was in like
saw it on my Facebook.
It was like it wasn't in some like 400-page like Ray Dalio book. It was totally just a meme. But it talked about that, about how like, you know, we all have like, you know, these battles that we go through, these things that we fight, the doubt. Like you talk to a partner or somebody in your team and they're like, that idea is shit. You know?
Totally.
And then by virtue of that, we're feeling shit.
Yeah.
You know, and then maybe you miss a couple workouts or a couple meditation sessions, you eat too many cheeseburgers, you drink too many beers, and then next thing you know, but the thing is like what defines successful entrepreneurs is like the time frame between like those feelings and getting back to it are shorter than they are for unsuccessful entrepreneurs.
I love
right?
that.
It's just like you just fucking get down to
Just
it,
get
man.
back
Like
on.
you know, like we say on our team, man, like you got 5 minutes. Like get your pity party on. Like you want to feel bad for yourself. Let's tell a story. Let's feel shitty. But you got 5 minutes because if you go out more than 5 minutes, you're a whiner. Like and now you're bringing me down. You're affecting our collective vibe, and now none of us are productive. Like dude, like I respect and I understand what you've been through, but like get back at it. Don't be a sucker, right? And I was oddly inspired by this meme. I was like, yeah, man, like that is like my time frame for getting back on the horse is low. You know what I mean? Like just get back after it.
Yeah, I always look at it too as in time frames of first world problems. Right? Regardless if it's work, it's self-inflicted. Right? Whatever happened. I can't change it. The only thing I can change is what happened a second from now.
And the people around you really inform that too. Like great example, go back to my wife yesterday. I had a deal kind of get sideways. Ended up meaning I had to burn $1,000 by like 8 o'clock. So she asked me at the breakfast table, she's like, you all right? Like you seem kind of quiet or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And I was like, well, whatever. I just burned through $1,000. And she's like, so nice day outside. The kids are healthy. You got a roof over your head. Like don't be a sucker. I mean, those weren't her words, but she didn't say don't be a sucker. But everything else she did. I was like, yeah, good girl, man. Like, let's get back to breakfast. Like, what am I?
Can't change it. How are you going to change it?
Right.
You're only going to change what we do next. 2 minutes from now.
How's my breakfast going to be with my kids? Is it going to be good or bad? It was good.
Right. It's a matter of taking responsibility, right? And it's like it's really hard to do when you're sad or you're hurt or whatever, right? And I love what you said. Like take some time to bitch about it. Like that's a normal human thing.
Reevaluate it.
But it's like at some point you need to take responsibility. And either it's like, okay, I got burnt, but I'm still responsible to have an awesome day with my family and stuff. And I'm gonna have to find a way to like let that go, man, and not carry it around because obviously you love your family, and I know that you do. It's really hard to do, but I like the time frame, and some people are just stuck and not taking responsibility. It's so painful to watch.
I think I told Courtney this. I got a great friend / client that every year he picks one word that's going to frame his year, right? And so
that's
and he uses it for everything. So last year, 2018, it was #next. Okay. So no matter what happened, I remember he said, "Geez, I lost this huge client." And it was like $200,000 a year.
Yeah, big money.
And I said, like, what are you going to do? #next. He actually texted me that. I'm like, oh. So I had met him later for a coffee or a beer or something. And I said, is that upsetting? And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, remember this morning you texted me. He's like, next. And that was it. Like, that's the end of the conversation. So this year.
Well, we're talking about this, man.
Yeah, he's like, what are we talking about? That happened this morning. And I'm like, and then this year, I said, so what's your word? He's like 50. I'm like 50.
What's 50?
And he's like 50. Everything I do is going to be 50. Right? If I do a push-up, I'm going to do 50. Right?
Okay.
If I do this, everything I do is 50. And I said, he was trying to cut back on drinking wine.
So only 50 glasses.
No, only 50 bottles this year.
What? I love this guy. I don't know who it is, but I love this guy.
That's awesome. Do know. And but I thought, you know what? There's a mindset there.
Right.
Like whatever it may be. Like you said, it's $1,000. Okay, well, that was $1,000, but it's not now.
The money, but hey, man.
But it's not now. It's gone.
Yeah, that's right.
And what are you gonna do? Bring it back? You can't.
Nope.
Just make more.
There's an abundance of money out there. Just go find some more.
Yeah. Or people use the phrase, "Oh, there's a lot of old money over there." That's the worst money. Right? I'll take the new money. Right? Like it's all just what are we thinking about what's going to happen in the next minute from now, or what's going to happen this afternoon, right? And like you said, we all got to go home to our families or whoever it is or wherever we're going. But it's up to us how we get there. Right? And when we arrive, what's it going to be like?
That's a good segue, man. you know, we're winding up here. We probably got another 5 or so minutes left. So tell us about that. You know, where do you want to be? You know, if you have to pick your kind of 2 to 5 year plan, what do you got mapped out?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I want to grow my business, obviously, help a bunch of people. I want to grow our technology company and kind of demonstrate that like we can do some pretty unique things in Lethbridge. I think we've got a really great ecosystem of entrepreneurship. On the family front, I want to continue to like make that a huge priority in my life. Like I have little kids or a young daughter, and I realize how fast time's going by, and I don't want to be the guy that lets that slip through my fingers. I want to sit in my rocking chair when I'm 80 and say I did everything I could in that moment, which is a short window. You know, at some point she's going to be off to university and that stuff. I want to take that 5 or 10 years and 15 years and just make sure that that's a huge part of my life, because you can always go and, you know, build an accounting practice and stuff, but staying mindful of like what truly is important, you know, traveling, building an awesome business, growing our tech company. You know, health is a big deal to me. I like to eat as right as I can, and yeah, I'll have beers like the next guy or whatever, but I mean, I want to take good care of myself. But really it's that wellness that we talked about, that authentic self, is really what I'm striving for right now, and that's just the best version of who I am, and that involves many aspects outside of entrepreneurship, and they kind of all go together. But really, if you ask me, what are you trying to accomplish, like that's what it is, right? It's like firing on all cylinders in that state of mind, and being maybe a little too spiritual or too fluffy for this, but I mean, we're at that place where, you know, we're able to really think about getting to that level is kind of my goal.
I love talking about books too. Have you read The Happiness Advantage?
It's on my wish list right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you read The Untethered Soul?
I have.
Yeah. You love that book, right?
Yeah.
And that guy Michael Singer wrote another book too called oh man, it's along that same vine, right? Like, you know, find your vibe. You know, find where your jam is, and just let your energy flow there.
Yeah.
And you know, just don't get hung up on the emotions attached to the things.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been so good chatting with you, man.
Yeah,
This
it's
has
been great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
We could do this all day, but you got a family, man, and so do we. So we should get to that.
Yeah, that's right.
This has been the Dooryard Union. I'm Courtney Atkinson. This is Colin Harms, and that guy is Obed Maurice with Avail CPA.
Yeah.
Obed, you're a really interesting guy, man. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me,
great
man.
chatting.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Cheers.
Yeah, that was fun. I feel
was
like
good
we
jam.
could just like go